Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. This is a new episode of This Week in Hotels. So we are live actually This Week in Hotels number 23. How are you doing, Josia?
I'm doing well, Guillaume. How are you? All ready for that big presentation today? The big panel discussion, actually.
Yes, indeed. And I believe you have some news because you're not in the US anymore.
I'm not in the U.S. I'm actually based in Barcelona now, so we're only 1 hour different. We don't have to coordinate that 9-hour time difference.
Fantastic. And what has been so far your experience in Barcelona?
Barcelona is an amazing city. I'm usually busy doing a lot of research right now on how hotels are using social media, but when I'm not, it's definitely a fun place to be.
Cool. So, for those guys that probably haven't heard our show, we basically throw one topic each, and we just discuss about our thoughts about what's going on. So, Josia, what is your topic of the week this week?
I just wanted to briefly discuss how influence scoring is affecting social media. I think this is an area that social media may be evolving quickly. There's a number of companies that have provided influence scoring, but I think cloud is kind of emerging as a market leader in this area. And so for our listeners who may not be familiar with the concept, basically what cloud does is it calculates a score from 1 to 100 on how influential that they think the user in social media is. And so they kind of take three different characteristics into account. There's what they call true reach, which is the number of engaged people following them, not just the number of followers, but the number of people who are actually engaged with them. They measure amplification score, which is how likely that tweet or message may be posted or retweeted to someone else. And then also the network score, which is kind of the quality of someone's network. So this is their approach to influence scoring, but I know there's a number of other companies out there. But I think they're probably kind of emerging as a market leader in this whole area.
How do you reach cloud? What is the URL?
The cloud URL is spelled KLOUT.com. And it's a free service. You can enter your Twitter username, and you can also integrate with Facebook. But it runs the data behind the scenes. Then you get a nice little graphic. You can see your cloud score, and then kind of track it over time.
So, where in the past 2-3 years, the hotel industry was different, trying to get used to different tools like Facebook and Twitter and so on. This year, you would think that it's more about the quality of the interaction with the users more than just getting that number of fans or that number of Twitter followers.
Exactly. I think there's a little more sophistication that we're seeing in social media. It's not just how many fans do we have, it's how engaged are these people, how likely are they to pass along the information that we share with them. And I think the play here for hotels is thinking, how do we use an influence scoring or some other metric like this to give maybe a little bit deeper insight into how we're providing service. And I don't want this to become a way to discriminate against hotel guests. I think, I think it would be naive to think that influence scoring is going to be not used in that, because that happens anyway. If you have a celebrity guest coming through, you're probably going to be treating them pretty well. But instead of just using it to discriminate on service, I would like influence scoring to be an opportunity for identifying brand advocates, for example. Thinking, who do we need to reach out to and deliver something extra, something special, and maybe that they would be telling their friends and very influential in social media. So that's kind of the play that I see. It's not quality of service; it's more the type of service. Who gets involved in helping these people?
So, isn't it right that to making sure that your property or your restaurants get recognized by social media users is to reach the most influential people to talk about your brand, right?
Exactly right. And actually, we saw there's one example, the Palms Hotel in Las Vegas. I was reading an article on Ad Age just this morning, and the marketing director there is building what he calls the Clout Club. And basically, this is a program where influential social media users, according to their cloud score, get access to some of the amenities at the Palms Hotel. So I think there's a lot of experimentation that needs to happen in this area, but it's definitely something to watch in the year ahead.
All right. I mean, that's a really good tool. Actually, I'm not aware of that one. So, do you know how they pull out this data? Is it just taking data from the API from the different social networking sites?
I believe so. I think a lot of their algorithm is sort of behind the scenes. It's kind of proprietary, but I would imagine that they're pulling from the API. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, if you actually use cloud, let us know what have you learned. Did it actually change the way that you're approaching social media? I mean, are you able to drive more buzz, I guess, through your brands because you reach the influencers? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So speaking of trends, I know you wanted to talk about something that a lot of hotels are thinking about, and that is sort of the relationship between flash sale sites and direct sales. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. This is more of a follow-up to a post I think was brilliantly written by Patrick Lenman from X Hotels. So he wrote a post about all these trends that we're seeing today regarding flash sale sites like Groupon, Leading Social, Voyage Privé, and more to come, I believe. And the whole idea was that please don't jump on these channels because this could actually damage, the revenue potential that you can get in a year. You will dilute your value proposition by discounting too hard your hotel. Maybe it could be for 1 month, but still, it could be that there is this month where you should you should actually sell your hotel rooms at a much higher price than selling it through Groupon. So hotels, I think, are starting to learn what is the consequence of promoting their hotel on Groupon and so on, and also that money that you're giving away to Groupon could probably be used better to use direct marketing channels, and there's obviously tons of things that you can do direct. But I think I mentioned this before. 2011 is about where hotels going to really start learning doing bookings directly on their website through the phone or through other means. It's really important that they get control over the distribution more than ever.
Absolutely right. And it's probably good for hotels to talk to other hotels that have run Groupon promotions, for example. I know we've talked a little bit about this on a prior episode, but just the amount of money that you get and the loyalty of those guests coming through can be pretty scary, I think.
Yeah. So the question is, though, is when I read the post, okay, so let's say the hotel said I'm not going to go to Groupon to create a big buzz around my property. What stuff can I do on my direct marketing with that money? What would be the recommendation you would give to a hotel to do my own direct marketing with whatever money I have?
Right. Well, that's there's a lot that you could do with the amount of money that they're giving away. I would focus on search. I would get a more sophisticated social engagement program set up. All the thousands of dollars that these promotions often cost hotels, if they put that into becoming more visible online, delivering better service, this is the type of thing that will drive loyalty and repeat business. Just the hotels I talk to find that people coming through a discount site are only there for the price. They're only going to come through one time, and the likelihood of them coming back is actually very, very small. So I would invest in areas that actually build long-term loyalty. What's your thoughts?
So, I mean, SEM, so search engine. I just forgot what it's M for. Monetization.
Marketing. Yeah.
And also having some campaigns on Google and Bing could be also very expensive. And at the same time, if you're in a very crowded marketplace like in London or Barcelona, remember that you bid against other hotels that just wants to feature on the first or second sponsor link, and you're bidding against also big guys like Booking.com and so on. So it might not be that obvious to really go into those channels. I'm also thinking about part of your direct marketing costs should be allocated to making sure somebody is really looking into Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and so on. It might not actually have a ROI, from month one, but in a medium term, that will pay off. It's all about creating your brand.
Right.
And I think today, and I keep coming back to what Gary Vaynerchuk is saying in his book, or every time he's go on his conferences, is that today to build a brand is much easier than it used to be for a small business, because you have far much better tools to reach your audience at a very limited cost. If you go back 10 years ago, you would be basically relying on a lot of media where you would have to advertise. All these tools that we're talking about for 23 episodes are almost free to use. Obviously, you have to spend some time, but the direct marketing cost is probably allocated to one resources, to actually manage those tools.
Absolutely, and I think there's sort of two big areas of marketing. There's some of the social engagement, and then there's also targeted advertising. And maybe what draws some people to sites like Groupon is that they know they're going to have a certain amount of business. But I would try to develop a very sophisticated marketing program. I talk to a lot of hotels. I find that very targeted Google ads can get some results, maybe advertise only for your brand name. But we're finding as you go along in the buying cycle, TripAdvisor actually business listings where you get the direct link through your website. The hotels I'm talking with are getting extraordinary conversions from that. So I think just do some testing, see where the money actually comes from, and once you're tracking and testing everything, you'll have a lot of certainty on the amount of revenue each of these channels can deliver, and so that provides a lot more confidence, I think.
Yes, absolutely, and let's not forget as well, do spend a bit of time re-looking at your website. Do you think your website is easy to navigate? Do you think your website is bookable in a way that doesn't matter where the user is going to your website, they will always find the booking engine in one place. I've actually highlighted a couple of examples. I've just launched a new section on my blogs called Discover, and I always highlight a hotel which have a good website. This is what is key today. People have to make sure they can book on your website. It's crucial, but also gives them a lot of information that could be important for them. So maybe spend some time and money on your website will probably do a lot of good, in the long term.
Absolutely. So all of our listeners out there, we actually have recorded a prior episode on this very topic, how to increase direct bookings. We had David Morton as a guest expert, and he was sharing some ideas there. So be sure to check out that episode. And also any questions, any comments, any ideas for future episodes here on This Week in Hotels, be sure to leave a comment on either of our blogs, send us a Twitter message, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, guys. As always, please throw some comments out, and I see you next week.
All right, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.